Hello, and thank you for reviewing this presentation that centers around the free ebook Write Like a Pro. It's also available in 3 other languages: Spanish, Chinese, and Hindu. Therefore, you can click the ebook cover below to follow along in those languages. Several ebook users have asked to see some techniques in Write Like a Pro. Therefore, this presentation is going to share one of my favorites, the sliding technique, that can benefit anyone who writes. If you're following along using your ebook, we're looking at Chapter 5, page 31, that talks about editing techniques used during the post-writing phase. As we go through the demonstration, you'll notice quotes at the bottom of each slide that reinforces the message. Demonstrating the 2 ways to use the sliding technique, we'll look at the manual way and then the online way, which is called Find and Redefine. And we'll use 2 documents, a business document as well as a technical document. Let's look at the definition of sliding. It's an editing technique that's used to improve the sentence structure and increase the clarity of your document. And it just helps you to be more concise and write in plain language. It has 5 functions where you can remove, eliminate, rearrange, reduce, or identify missing words. So you can slide in or slide out. But during this demonstration, we're going to look at the 4th one, which is to reduce the sentence length, take out excessive wording, redundancies, and fillers. Now, before we get into the actual demonstration, I want to point out that there are disposable words we can slide out that aren't really needed in your sentences or documents, and that's can be articles, adjectives, prepositions, relative pronouns, or transitions. And you have some tip sheets in the back that identify these, but we'll get into that later. But for right now, let's see how we can slide manually. We are going to look at the sliding technique and how it's done manually. And we're searching for prepositions. And prepositions are those little tiny words in the document that are really important. And you have a list of common prepositions in your ebook on page 49. And you can see that right here. So we are going to take our document and we're going to mark each preposition in the document. So this is what you'll do when you actually start practicing the sliding technique using the manual approach. So we're going to highlight each one of these prepositions. And how many do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do we need all of those prepositions? After you highlight the prepositions, we have 8 of them, you cross them out. You actually take another pen or the pen you have, and you're going to cross each of these prepositions out and ask the question, do I really need each of these prepositions? So what does that look like? Here you have a 55-word sentence and you have 8 prepositions, and we cross them out and you go and say, do I need this preposition? Do I need the inability to properly write in business? Are all of those needed? And sometimes you can take out a prepositional phrase. For example, business can take years to surface. Do I need to surface? I can scratch that whole prepositional phrase out. So I'm taking out 2 words. And what do we end up with after we go through all of this? We go from a 55-word paragraph with 8 prepositions to 36 words instead of 55, 3 prepositions instead of 8, and our sentence is much more concise, and we've reduced the amount of time the reader needs to use in order to get to the message, and we haven't changed the message. The inability to write properly in your job can destroy a career, so we really haven't changed the message. And that's what sliding does manually. And when you're sliding manually, you can look for more than one part of speech. You can look for prepositions, articles, conjunctions. You can do it all at the same time. And that's it. So practice, practice, practice. If you prefer to do sliding manually, or if you don't have a computer at the moment, this is a great way to start editing your document. Now we're ready to look at the online technique using Microsoft Word. This is called Find and Redefine, and it's much, much, much more efficient and time-saving. And unlike the manual technique, though, you can only slide out one word or one part of speech at a time. You can't do several. You can only do one part of speech at a time. And when we use Find and Redefine, you're going to be able to identify redundancy in the sentences and highlight overkill of repeated words, phrases, acronyms, and things like that. So this time we're looking at a technical document, and we are going to slide out articles. Sliding out articles. We are now going to look at the second way to slide using Find and Redefine. This time we're going to slide out articles, and there are 3 articles in American English, as you can see from this particular slide. So we're going to slide out articles, whereas manually we did the prepositions. And in order to use Find and Redefine, and it's explained to you on page 38 in your workbook, in your ebook on page 38. We have to go into Microsoft Word and start at the home ribbon. So you want to make sure you're at the home ribbon. And then we go over to this particular area and we click Replace. When we click Replace, the window pops up. Here it is. Down here. Let me move it up so you can see it better. The window pops up, and you want to make sure that the Replace tab is showing right here. And we're going to do the THE because that's very common and used most often as an article. So you go to find what? We want the program to find the. So we hit a space, THE, and space. Now it's very important to put the space before and after the article. If not, as you can see in this next slide, you'll have words, whether it's technical or business or general, that contain the article, like another has the article THE in it, as you can see in this slide. So that spacing is very important. And I'm on step 4. If you're using your ebook, I'm on step 4 on page 38. Next, what do we want to replace it with? We want that same word, space, THE, space, and this time we want it to be highlighted. So the computer is going to do it rather than the way we did it manually. You have to hit more over here to get some other format options. And we're going to come down here and click the format, and we want it to highlight. You'll see the word highlight show under replace with. And then, now here is the really good part. Then we click replace all. The screen pops up and tells us that we have 2 replacements that will be made. And it immediately lets us know that there are 13 articles in the document. So there are 13. We're going to close this out. As we did manually, you go in and ask, do I really need this particular article before the surgery? Can I just say before surgery? So you ask each question when you see an article. This could also include the washing, clipping, and disinfecting. Can we say this will also include washing, clipping, and disinfecting? So you do that as you did manually and question each one of the article use. Your message will be much more concise, the same message, and you've saved yourself a lot of editing time. Now, some people say, well, let's just do control find. It doesn't work with control find. If I did control find, and sure, you can come up here and you can say, oh, I'm sorry, it didn't. Let me try that again. Control find, and I could do the article. But what happens is that when I go into question and look at moving it out, see, all of the highlighting disappears. So control find does not work with the find and the find and redefine technique. There you have it. It's a much more efficient way of editing your document rather than doing it manually. It saves you a lot of time. And all you have to do is practice, practice, practice. So you've just been exposed to two editing techniques. I'm sorry, you've been exposed to one editing technique, but two ways of approaching sliding. So practice, 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 and eventually you'll master this. Well, we've just looked at two exciting ways to slide manually and online. So when you practice this, you'll really become efficient at it and be able to save a lot of time. Earlier, I had mentioned tip sheets that are listed in the back of your ebook. And here, I'm just pointing out where you have the common prepositions and the page numbers, wordy phrases, transitions, imperative verbs. The reason that that's listed, you can slide in and slide out because sometimes people get hung up using dead verbs like is, are, and you can slide those out and put in some real action verbs. In closing, I would like to share a quote by Robert Hoe. Almost without exception, highly successful people are clear and persuasive communicators in writing. It is the common thread of success. And that is so true. Whether you're a beginner or a veteran writer, the techniques presented in Write Like a Pro will not only help you improve your writing, editing, and proofreading skills, but it can also help remove writer's block. Using the techniques will help you avoid having 5D readers. And what are 5D readers? They are distracted, disinterested, disengaged, disenchanted, and discouraged when they look at your document, even if they look at your document, let alone read it. And one example I like to share that results in people being 5D readers is the 26-page brownie recipe put out by the U.S. Department of Defense. You can use the techniques in Write Like a Pro with business documents, class assignments, proposals, consumer letters, scholarship applications, technical articles, and the list could go on and on. I must acknowledge and thank these individuals for their professional assistance because without their help, this brief demonstration would not have been possible if it depended on Miss Low Tech here, and that's me. So I hope you will check out their websites, and I look forward to reading your comments as you begin to practice, 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 and soar on the wings of words while using Write Like a Pro. And be sure to share this with others in your professional network. Again, thank you for using the free ebook, Write Like a Pro.